hello again, it's day 5. I've remembered my selfie stick today so we can have me at a far wider angle when I'm wandering around the streets like an urchin. I'm going to get the train, the Go Transit train into town and see Fort York, which is one of the most historic sites from back when Toronto was called York and was a garrison for the British Army. Has a lot of history regarding the War of 1812. I'm sure I'll find out a lot more about it. But yeah, let's get our historical analysis on. Alrighty then, I found myself on board. This is the Go train. I've got to say, this is the first time I've ever been on a double-decker train. That's sick, man. That was a nice smooth ride, and I'm still kind of in awe at the fact that they have double-decker trains here, something we don't have back home at all. Here I go, going downstairs. So the plan will be to go to Fort York later in the afternoon, but first of all I'm going to check out St. Lawrence Market. I think that'll be a good place to go for lunch, which is about 8 minutes away, and you know my stomach rules everything that I do. Check that out. See if we can get some sweet local food. Maybe try a butter tart. I was going on about butter tarts. If I can find a bakery that'll do one, I'll have one. So the Ice Hockey Hall of Fame's behind me. That's another one that I think I'm going to have to check out later in my stay. I really need to get to know more about ice hockey before I jump in there, because a lot of those names and faces are just going to go completely over my head. However, I do like ice hockey and I'm going to get to a game at some point. Go London Knights. So behind me is the Gutter and Flatiron building, which is one of the main landmarks of Toronto. It's a building that has clearly been on a diet, and it looks like the construction guys are just putting in a gastric band so it can stay thin. That's enough for anorexic buildings. I'm going to go for a nice thick one now. I'm going to get myself some food at St. Lawrence Market. Time to find ourselves something to eat. The first thing I saw was a big sign advertising pea meal bacon, so I'm definitely in the right place to get myself some of that for eat. What's cool is some of these places have little bars where you can sit down and try the food and have something to eat. I mean, there's a fish one behind me there, and that's got a little oyster bar attached to it, which is also, I mean, look at all this, baby. I'm amazed it's taken me 4 days to find it, but look, this shop's got maple syrup everything. Canada. That's where I found Dad and Moose. There we go. Moose. Okay, I bit the bullet. I've got the pea meal bacon sandwich in the end. I'm fully aware that this channel is just becoming me eating for days on end, and this looks pretty good. That's nice. I put loads of mustard on it. Spicy mustard. Tasty. Okay, so the last act at the market before you stop having to watch me eat things, I'm going to have a go with a butter tart, which is another one of those things that came recommended on pretty much every list of classic Canadian food. So, bottoms up. Oh damn, love it. Oh, is that on the screen? thought I had something on my face. It's really nice, like a treacle tart would be back home, but I'd say it has kind of more bite to it. There's more pastry. Man, I'm really getting into this food review shit now. Well, that was a seriously impressive little slice of Canadian food. Time to go to Fort York. As a little kind of parting gift, I think just for this sick artwork behind, I'm going to have to try Buster's fish sandwich next time, which sounds like a double entendre.
You wanna taste the Buster's fish sandwich? It's hot and fresh.
Real mother flipping G's.
Next stop, Bathurst Street.
I would say Fort York's probably not a place to mess around too much. There's still an active armoury there. I've just seen guys walking around with guns, which may or may not be loaded. So I'll keep my neck down. Mounties! So this city continues to surprise me. I've just come under this subway to go into the visitor centre at Fort York, and behind me is a ice skating rink. It's quite amazing, really. So they've got a full race track for people on skates. Crazy city, really crazy. And we've made it to Fort York, and there's nobody else here. This is becoming a running theme of this holiday. I'm going to go and check out some of the orientation exhibits, find out a little bit about the history of this place, which I believe was a British garrison back in the 1800s, and get my historical analysis on, as I said earlier.
The local economy boomed. From the 1850s to the 1930s, Toronto engaged in lake-fill projects around Fort York that eventually pushed the shoreline more than 500 meters south of this historic site.
This place is cool. I'm inside one of the old money vaults. This is where they used to hide the gold during the 1830s when they were scared the Americans were going to come and steal it all. Pretty spooky. Just met a lovely gentleman called David who ensures me that the next building along has a load of weapons. Let's go check them out. Oh, look at all those guns. On Tuesdays you can find me chilling with the squad. Fire in the hole, baby! Right then, back to reality, or whatever constitutes reality on this crazy mad trip of a lifetime. Now off to the CN Tower. I'm going to check what their prognosis is for the next couple of days and whether or not it's realistic that I'm going to be able to go up the tower or not. Back again at the CN Tower. Now this doesn't bode well. I can't even see the observation deck, and if I can't see them, they can't see me. I'm highly doubting that it's going to be any better tomorrow morning. So I'm going to go and see what they say at the desk now. If not, then we'll try it again at a later point in the year, but I'm sure we're going to have a chance to come back here. It's going to be an incredible view of the city, and it'd be dumb not to do it, really. Okay, so I spoke to the nice gentleman at the entrance there. He says the best day to come back will be Thursday morning, apparently. Wednesday, not so good. I'm not going to chance it because it's about $35 just to get up, so we may as well make sure. Okay, so I just stopped to get another double-double, and I think I've stumbled across Path. Yeah, it says it right here. So this is the famous underground network of passageways. A subway, but for your feet, from what I can tell. Well, an underground city, as they said. We're in another shopping mall now. We've just been past some banks and some hotels. It's crazy. So now I'm in Hudson's Bay, which is a big department store. It's a little bit like Debenhams back home. The main thing that sets it apart is that it has a hell of a lot of history. It's been around since the mid-1600s. Technically speaking, Hudson's Bay used to be a country. They were kind of the main traders for the northern area of Canada. And it wasn't until, I can't remember the exact date, I'm going to say sometime in the 19th century, that the Dominion of Canada actually got those lands off of the Hudson's Bay Company. And so up until that point, yeah, they pretty much owned half of Canada. And they were a country in their own right. Crazy, huh? And they sell cool little bobble hats. Okay, this shop's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's like all kawaii and shit. They've got some Marvel stuff, they've got Cartoon Network stuff, they've got Japanese stuff. And my lab. They've got Lampet's Bad Princess. BMO. That's a bank here. Hey you! Subscribe to Strawberry Station. Please. Brr. The stuff here is really cheap as well. I can't quite believe this. This is badass. Right, when I get my place, I'm just going to fill it with like wee bear stuff. Look at it. That's so cool. Definitely the best place I've seen in Toronto for some retail therapy. I mean, I just bought this penguin. There he is. Penguin. Alright, cool. I'll admit that I had slightly lost my bearings there, but I know exactly where I am now because behind me is the food court where me and Indy had our pizza the other day. So we're now in the Eaton Centre, which means I'm just off of Yonge Dundas Square, I think. Look, there's that big ass roof again. One thing I noticed about the place, we went the other day with Indy, I'd never realised that the sign on top of the pub is actually pretty much the same size as the pub. Okay, I'm having this strange knacking kind of finding things I need on the floor. I was just going to go and buy an orange, but I've just found one. I'm not going to tell Indy, and he's not going to find out that I found this on the floor of a Subway until you see this video, my friend. All of that orange that you drank with your drink, it was floor orange. We have made it to Gloucester Street, hooray! My bearings were correct. That's the corner shop that I was going to buy the orange from, but I already have an orange because I found one on the floor on the Subway. I can't say I'm so sure about the quality of the public toilets here though. And in today's episode of Baby and Swan, the swan and the baby fall out. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea what the significance of the baby and the swan are, but I do find it kind of funny. A bit like that toilet on the street. We made it back to Indy's place. Get that beer. Cheers. How was it?
I already had one.
No, he didn't want the orange. He didn't want the orange. Why didn't you want the orange?
You're very persuasive.
It's like I paid good money for that orange, didn't I? It's not like I just got it off the street.
He washed this glass.
I washed the glass, I washed
Just
the orange.
for me.
Everything's been washed. Not bad for 3 days drinking.
Interesting. This is a tiny border.
Tiny white border. You got the J card, right?
1 hour later.
There's Firkin on Yonge.
We're Firkin.
I'm more interested in Mornington Crescent though. Hey Mala, I made it. Mornington Crescent. There's my boy. He over there. He in the middle. Me over here. Cheers. We're in a British pub. Britain. A very kind reminder. Well, another fun night. We've explored the origins of Toronto and then we hung out with Indy and got drunk again, which is par for the course at this point. There's a bus. Canadian buses. Day 5. Bring it on.